Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Valkyr yet again. So Valkyr got buffed. Update 17 dropped. That's the main point of this video. I'm using the same Valkyr build. Obviously this is post-commentary. Because recording software. Anyway, so Valkyr's Hysteria. It is now toggleable, which means it also now has an energy drain rather than a flat energy cost upon activation. I think it does still have an activation cost, but I think it's like 15. Duration mods now affect toggled abilities. That goes hand in hand with this. It also shits on my Equinox build right now, so joy. But if you have 200% duration, like I do, the energy drain is halved, despite my efficiency. So there's that. It's weird and if. Anyway. The biggest buff to Hysteria is that melee weapon mods now apply directly to the Hysteria weapon. If you don't know how Hysteria works, it's in 3 parts. There's the activated ability, which locks you into melee and grants you the screen effect and the invincibility and all that comes with the ability itself, stat-wise, for Valkyr. There's the melee component, which is the weapon Hysteria, and then there's the stance. The weapon mods applied to your weapon, in this case my Obex, with a crit build. Applied directly to the Hysteria weapon now. Meaning that crit builds for the Thibodeau and for the Obex, like I'm using, will now apply. That means Berserker will work. It will proc while you're in Hysteria. Combine that with the Total War mod, which I don't yet have, unfortunately, I'm sorry. Otherwise I would demonstrate it. Combine that with the Total War mod, and you can have a blindingly fast Hysteria up for a very, very long time. So,
your sense of duty compels you to help.
I don't really need to say anymore. So we're just gonna do the round 3 alert mission with these Night Watch Grineer. They're very strong, actually. I wasn't expecting how strong they were in this video, but I don't think I ever went down. But these are level 37, 40 enemies, and aside from the bailiffs, the bombards, which have like damage reduction, it looks like. I've never seen the bailiffs before. This is the first time I've ever encountered them. Is in this alert. Aside from them, these level 37 and 40 Grineer are being put down in one normal slash with my Hysteria, as you'll see later when I first activate it. And then the heavily armored damage resistant crap get taken down with just I drop paralysis and then get that free finisher off. It's insane just how strong this is. Now you can do like the really high damage, like Galatine Sindo Prime Valkyr setup with like really high damage slashes, or I drop my pet right there because these are high level enemies, and I don't know. And you never see him again. Like after this room, he just kind of like disappears, and I kind of lose that charger. I don't know what happens to him. Anyway. You can do that Sindo Prime like the old style, like goes off the base stats, really heavy weapon, or you can do what I've been doing with this crit build kind of thing, and it looks like the elemental mods apply too. That's what it looks like, because it looks like there's a couple times in the video where there appears to be a blast proc and things go flying or disappear, like in the disintegration effect. Which means that you can now mod out the Hysteria weapon for elemental combos. So, I have Blast on my Obex right now, obviously, as you saw in the earlier build. So, it looks like that there's Blast procs going off. Like, speaking of procs going off, Syndicate weapon procs will not apply because you're technically using a different weapon, and while most of the same mods and stats are being applied, because you're not using, say, the Dark Dagger with the Gleaming Blight mod. Because you're not using the Dark Dagger, just use it's like the stat change will take effect. Like you'll still get that boost, and I believe it's status for that mod. The Syndicate proc will not go in. Watch how quickly I just tear apart these 3 heavy gunners, and they're dead. That was maybe 3 or 4 seconds from me paralyzing the first one to killing it. It takes no time at all. So Hysteria is very, very strong now. And so I want to do some additional testing. I know anybody who has their hands on the dual Ichors, which I do not yet, and I want to because I want a good crit weapon, another good crit weapon. I enjoy them. I enjoy those big numbers. That would do really well here. I didn't even use my Warcry in the State of Hysteria, which probably would have meant that I would just turn into a blender. So I want to do some additional testing, some experimentation, but this buff definitely makes me want to play Valkyr again. So you'll be seeing a lot more Valkyr, melee only, because that's the only... The Valkyr with guns is a waste of time. Like, the whole point of her is to be this melee berserker character. That's her whole point, that's her theme. There's no reason to use guns on her. It's not as fun. And besides, when melee is such a satisfying way to play, satisfying does not mean endgame viable. I'm just going to make that clear now, and that's something I feel like DE really needs to address. They need to adjust power creep to make Warframe, melee Warframe, more endgame viable. Am I saying you should be able to bring like a Skana into an endless T4 survival or even a fucking T4 exterminate? No! The Skana is a shitty weapon by design. Same with the bow, same with the Furax. There are better versions. Find them, use the better versions. Like, that's basic, that's the point of having these starter versions. It's like having the Bratton. Why use the Bratton when you can get the Bratton Prime, like I do? And drop a couple Forma in it, because it's a reliable weapon. That's off topic. But DE needs to make the game more melee viable, and I feel like the best way to do this is to set a level cap on the endless missions, or adjust how armor and values and all that are adjusted. And they need to fix some weapon classes, like scythes. I love the scythes. They're my favorite weapon class by far. I love them so much. The Aether Reaper is probably my favorite melee weapon in the game, or one of them. Even though they need to adjust the models in the effectiveness of the scythes. The scythes are essentially, they have the damage of like a single sword weapon or a sword weapon, and the speed of a heavy weapon, and no crit viability, aside from kind of the Anku. And while I adore the Reaper Prime, it's just not good. And I feel like scythes should really get a unique mechanic. I've seen some stuff on the forums about people saying scythes should pull enemies in, and like scythes should be bigger. First of all, like they should be able to hit more enemies. More than like it should be able to eat 8 or 9, because this whole like makes you want to go into a crowd reaping death and destruction. That's the point. Reap the heads of those who oppose you. But an interesting mechanic I saw was that people were suggesting scythes function in that they pull enemies in towards you instead of pushing them away like all other melee. So bringing a form of like crowd control. I could see some potential for this, like pulling and maybe stagger, or there's various effects. My thought is that scythes should have innate lifesteal on hit, or be like really, really, really powerful. Because when a scythe is used as a weapon, it's usually by some deity or some very powerful being in just literature. That's just how it seems to work. Like Death himself or some. No, you're not gonna find some average Joe using a scythe. There's an inhuman significance to it. So I think innate lifesteal, or perhaps like really, or have them really, really good in channeling, like a default 4 times damage boost while channeling. Because right now channeling is a pretty shitty mechanic. Like the only time anyone ever really uses it is on like the 1 or 2 weapons that have good channeling, which is it's not great, or or for Life Strike. That's the only time people use it. Like the small damage boost it gives is not worth the mod slot. So if we make scythes ideal for channeling, like the best of the best channeling weapons by far, like the Dread is arguably one of the best bows. Now, like the Dread Cernos, Rakta and Dread, Rakta Cernos, and Paris Prime are like the best crit bows. Rakta Cernos being arguably the best bow in the game. And I'm really glad that's the Red Veil weapon. Like, I was mad initially because the Cernos is shit, but the Rakta Cernos is really good. I need to get MR12 and I need to get my hands on it. Mostly for the Veil videos. Anyway, back to scythes. Having that innate channeling damage would it would have this risk reward. And I feel like it would do really well on frames that tend to have an energy surplus. Like, I could see Trinity with a scythe being insane. Honestly, I could see, I tend to have a lot of excess energy on Necros because I spec for Shadows of the Dead because I have made a vow to never be a Desecrate slave. I will never be the 3-slamming scumbag, and I won't listen to people that do. I build for Shadows of the Dead because I do a lot of solo stuff, mostly. Because I only really use Shadows of the Dead, and in my Shadows of the Dead build, it stays up for about a minute, a little bit longer than a minute at a time. I always have a surplus of energy, so size would be good. So this turned from a Valkyr update video into like a general, like, short melee discussion video. This is a nice short video for y'all. A little bit of break from the long stuff I've been putting up. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you like the discussion. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.